She thought terrorizing the neighborhood was her hobby. But when HOA Karen tried to stop my daughter's life-saving operation, going as far as tampering with medical devices, the surgeon called the police. She had no idea her little power trip would expose a criminal conspiracy, land her in cuffs, and change our lives forever. Most HOA bullies just hand out petty fines. But mine? She tried to stop my daughter's life-saving operation, going as far as tampering with hospital equipment in my garage. I didn't know she'd crossed the line until the surgeon called the police himself, and her entire world collapsed overnight. That I'm not someone who scares easily. Not anymore. When you have a child with a fragile medical condition, fear becomes a normal part of your life. It sits in the passenger seat on every drive, sleeps on the couch, follows you in every room. My daughter, Lily, was born with a congenital heart defect. She was 6 now. Sweet, shy, soft-spoken, and far braver than any adult I've met. Her surgery was scheduled for a day in early spring at a date I had permanently absorbed into my bloodstream. The closer it got, the more the fear sharpened. Our cardiologist, Dr. Hargrove, a man whose presence alone could calm a thunderstorm, explained that Lily needed to wear a home monitor for 2 weeks before surgery. The device tracked oxygen levels, heart rhythms, and sleeping patterns. If anything goes wrong, he said, this device alerts us instantly. And then he added something crucial. Do not unplug it. Ever. Keep the equipment stable. Keep the environment controlled. I promised him I would. But at the time, I didn't know that someone in my own neighborhood would try to sabotage it. Someone who believed HOA rules mattered more than human lives. Our neighborhood was nice. Too nice. The kind of suburb where everything looked like a Hallmark movie set. Perfect lawns. Perfect fences. Perfect little mailboxes. And right in the center of all that perfection was her. Karen Wilmington, HOA president, unchallenged ruler, professional finger-pointer, local tyrant. If you crossed her, even accidentally, you'd suffer a rain of violation notices. Her weapon collection included grass height citations, trash bin placement alerts, parking infractions, flower color complaints. She once fined a family for holiday lights being emotionally distracting. So when she first noticed Lily's medical monitoring equipment being brought into the garage, I should have seen the disaster coming. But I didn't. I was too focused on keeping my daughter alive. The equipment arrived on a Friday afternoon. Boxes of sensors, cables, a portable oxygen-backed unit, sterile packs, a folding isolation stand. I unpacked everything carefully inside the garage. Lily sat on the driveway with her crayons, drawing butterflies while humming. That's when Karen appeared. She didn't walk over. She marched, as if she were leading an army into battle. Excuse me, she said sharply. Are those devices approved? I stared at her. Approved by who? The HOA, she replied, as if it was obvious. Large electronic units must be submitted for review. I blinked. These are medical devices. My daughter needs them for her surgery. She didn't soften. In fact, she stepped closer, eyes narrowing at the oxygen meter like it offended her personally. It's an eyesore, she said. And your garage door has been open for nearly 20 minutes. That's a violation. My jaw tightened. This wasn't the time. I was emotionally exhausted and terrified about the surgery already. Karen, I said quietly, with all due respect, I don't care about HOA rules right now. Her mouth opened. Her nostrils flared. She inhaled dramatically. Well, she said, you will care. Or you will be fined. She snapped a photo of the equipment and marched away. Lily looked up at me, concerned. Daddy, did I do something wrong? No, I said softly, kneeling beside her. You didn't do anything wrong. I smiled for her sake. But inside, something cold had started forming. Over the next 3 days, I noticed odd things. Karen driving past our house repeatedly, her pausing her dog walks near our driveway, her standing by her mailbox with binoculars, her sending multiple HOA emails about non-compliant garage items. The equipment had to stay plugged in 24/7. The garage door stayed shut unless I was out there checking it. But every time I opened it, Karen appeared within minutes. Day 1. She claimed the extension cord violated exterior aesthetic guidelines. Day 2. She said the medical equipment was a noise hazard, even though it was silent. Day 3. She sent an email demanding documentation proving the devices were certified safe. Every moment I wasn't caring for Lily, I was fending off this woman. My stress was through the roof. But it was about to get much worse. On the 4th night, Around 2:30 a.m., I woke to a sharp beeping from the monitor in Lily's room. The home station was offline. No data, no connection, no heartbeat reading. Panic slammed into my chest. I grabbed Lily and rushed her to the car, speeding to the hospital. Dr. Hargrove met us at the ER entrance. "It's okay," he said calmly, examining Lily. "She's stable. But what happened to the monitoring unit?" I explained everything I knew, which wasn't much. He frowned. "This cannot happen again," he said firmly. "Tampered readings can interfere with pre-op clearance." I nodded, sick to my stomach. "As soon as you go home," he added, "check your entire setup. If anything looks out of place, anything, we replace it immediately." When we got home at sunrise, I inspected the garage thoroughly. Nothing looked wrong, but the unit had definitely lost power at some point. And something else bothered me. The cable that connected to the monitoring unit had been moved. Only slightly, but enough for me to notice. It wasn't accidental. It felt deliberate. And in the corner of the garage floor, I saw a footprint. Small, clean, perfect. Definitely not mine. Definitely not my daughter's. The exact size of Karen's white-soled HOA walking shoes. My stomach turned. She wouldn't. She couldn't. Right? But I knew deep down she would. She was the kind of person who believed rules mattered more than human lives. Later that day, my phone rang. It was Dr. Hargrove. "Listen carefully," he said. "If that equipment is tampered with again, we may be forced to postpone the surgery." My heart dropped. "We can't postpone," I whispered. "Her condition is getting worse." He exhaled heavily. "I know. That's why I'm telling you. Watch that equipment. It must stay secure." Then he paused, and his tone changed. "Are you absolutely sure no one could be interfering with it?" I thought of Karen staring down at the equipment like it offended her existence. "I don't know," I said quietly. "Well," he replied, "you need to find out. Because next time, there won't be a warning." After the call, I checked the camera facing the driveway. Nothing unusual. Until later that evening, when I saw her again. Karen, standing across the street. Not moving, just watching my house. Like she was waiting for something. Like she was guarding something from happening, or planning something to happen. A chill ran through me. And for the first time since this started, I was afraid. Not just for Lily, but for what Karen might do next. 2 days later, the moment that changed everything happened. I was loading groceries in the trunk when I heard Lily's voice. But not her normal playful tone. She sounded distressed. "No, no, my daddy said I have to wear it." I turned sharply, and my heart nearly stopped. Karen was crouched in front of Lily in our driveway, speaking to her in a soft but manipulative tone. "You shouldn't wear that machine, sweetheart," Karen cooed. "It's dangerous. It emits radiation. It's not allowed here." Lily looked terrified. She backed away from Karen, clutching her chest. "Daddy, Daddy." I sprinted over. Karen stood up slowly, smiling like she had done nothing wrong. I was simply explaining. "Get away from my daughter," I snapped. Neighbors looked over from their porches. Karen stepped back, hands raised. "I'm trying to protect the community. Those devices are a hazard. They're medical equipment," I growled. "They're keeping her alive." Karen scoffed. "You people exaggerate everything. All you need is a form. If you submit the proper documents to the HOA." I stepped closer. "This is not an HOA issue." She smiled coldly. "Oh, you'd be surprised." And then she walked away, humming to herself. Lily clung to my leg, shaking. "Daddy, is something bad going to happen?" I hugged her tight. "No, honey," I whispered. "Nothing bad is going to happen." But I was lying. Because Karen was just getting started. Karen's little confrontation with Lily changed everything. Before that moment, I thought she was just an obnoxious neighbor with too much time and too little empathy. But after watching her bend down and whisper lies into my daughter's ear, dangerous lies designed to terrify a sick child, I realized something far more unsettling. This woman genuinely believed she had the authority to control everyone around her, even if it meant endangering a child's life. And people like that, they don't stop. They escalate. The week leading up to Lily's surgery became a nightmare. Every morning I woke up to a new HOA violation taped to our door. Garage door left open too long. Unapproved medical equipment visible from street level. Unauthorized extension cord usage. Non-compliant storage setup. Karen wasn't even hiding it anymore. Her name was on every form. I tried ignoring them. I had bigger things to worry about. But Karen was petty and persistent. The violations became fines. The fines turned into threats. Threats turned into emails sent to the entire neighborhood calling my home a hazard zone. Neighbors began avoiding me. A few believed her lies. Others didn't want to cross her. But one family, an older couple named the Millers, came to me quietly. Karen's always hated anything medical, Mrs. Miller whispered. She fined a neighbor for having a stair chair lift. Said it made the neighborhood look old and depressing. The poor woman had to take it down. I stared at her, shocked. Mrs. Miller leaned in closer. Be careful. Karen's not just cruel. She's obsessive. Her husband added. We've caught her snooping on people at night. She thinks she's the sheriff. That chilled me, because suddenly, something in the back of my mind lit up. The footprint in the garage. The cable that moved. The night the monitor went offline. She hadn't just been snooping outside. She had already gone inside. 2 nights later, it happened again. I woke at 3:14 a.m. to the exact same alarm sound. Beep, beep, beep. The unit had lost connection again. Lily was breathing fast in her sleep, clutching her stuffed rabbit. I rushed her to the hospital for a second emergency check. She was okay, thank God, but this time, Dr. Hargrove wasn't gentle. His voice was sharp. Controlled anger simmered beneath each word. This is the second time, he said. Do you understand how dangerous this is? If the data drops, we lose visibility. We lose the ability to respond. This can delay surgery, or worse. Worse. That word hit me like a sledgehammer. I swear, I said, I'm not touching the equipment. Something's happening. Someone's doing something. He studied my face. You think it's sabotage? I swallowed hard. Yes, I whispered. I think someone is interfering. Who? I hesitated. Saying it out loud felt insane. But insanity was exactly what I'd been dealing with. The HOA president, I said slowly. She's obsessed with our medical equipment. Dr. Hargrove didn't laugh. He didn't roll his eyes. He just leaned back and exhaled. I've seen neighbors interfere before, he said. And it never ends well. This isn't just an HOA dispute. It's a matter of life and death. Then he added something that chilled me. If this happens one more time, I will have no choice but to call the police myself. Not you should call. Not, we might have to call. I will call the police myself. I left the hospital shaking. Because now it wasn't just my word against Karen's. The surgeon was in the picture. And that was going to make everything explode. The next night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my living room with the lights off, watching my security camera feed on my laptop. Hours passed. 1 a.m. 2 a.m. 2:45 a.m. Nothing. Then, at exactly 3:07 a.m., motion was detected. Front driveway camera. Shadow by the hedge. I zoomed in. And my blood turned cold. Karen. In pajamas. Barefoot. Crouched behind bushes. On my property. Holding something in her hand. A small flashlight. She moved like a raccoon going through trash. Slow. Sneaky. Paranoid. She crawled toward the garage side door. The locked one. The one only I should have access to. Then she reached inside her bathrobe pocket and pulled out a key. My heart slammed in my chest. She didn't pick the lock. She used a key. Somehow, she had gotten a copy. I watched in horror as she unlocked my garage and slipped inside. The feed inside the garage lit up. Karen approached the monitoring station like she was approaching a bomb. She touched the cables. She adjusted the oxygen meter. She unplugged the main diagnostic unit for 1 full second. Just long enough to trigger an error on the hospital side. Then she plugged it back in and wiped her fingerprints on her robe sleeves. She walked out calmly, locked the door again, then jogged home like she had just done a morning workout. I sat there frozen, hands shaking. My mouth is dry. My face felt hot and cold at the same time. She had broken in. Physically. Deliberately. I replayed the video 3 times, just to be certain I wasn't hallucinating. She wasn't trying to kill my daughter. No, it was worse. She didn't believe she was doing anything wrong. She thought she had the right to do this. Because in her mind, HOA rules medical necessity. I brought Lily to her next pre-op check. And I brought my laptop. When Dr. Hargrove entered the room, I turned the screen toward him. Watch this, I said. He leaned in, confused. Then the footage played. At first he watched calmly. Then his jaw clenched. His nostrils flared. And when Karen unplugged the device, he slammed his hand on the counter. That's sabotage, he snapped. That is criminal sabotage. Lily jumped at his tone. He immediately softened his voice for her sake. Sweetie, you're very brave. Don't worry. No one is ever going to touch your machine again. Then he turned back to me, voice ice cold. Give me a copy of that footage. I'm filing a report right now. Should I call the police? I asked. He shook his head firmly. No, I will. Doctors don't mess around. Within 10 minutes, hospital security and law enforcement were reviewing the video. Within 30 minutes, a detective was asking me for details. Within an hour, Karen's name was entered into a preliminary report for criminal trespassing, tampering with medical equipment, interference with medical care, child endangerment. It was no longer an HOA issue. It was now a felony case. And everything was about to explode. The day before surgery was supposed to be calm, quiet, focused, peaceful. But peace was the last thing Karen wanted to give us. I opened the front door that morning and nearly tripped, because sitting on my welcome mat was a stack of 14 HOA violation notices. 14. 4. Garage must remain closed at all times. Unauthorized power-consuming unit. Medical equipment reducing neighborhood appeal. Suspicion of illegal modifications. Non-permitted electrical setup. And the worst one. Discontinue use of all monitoring devices immediately or face citation escalation. That wasn't just harassment. It was direct interference with a medical protocol. I was shaking with rage when Karen appeared, again, walking toward me with a clipboard like she was auditioning for the role of most punchable woman in America. You can remove the equipment now, she said sweetly. I filed emergency motions. It's not optional, I growled. It's keeping her alive. It's damaging property values, she said coldly. And I won't allow that. That's when Lily came outside behind me, still in pajamas, rubbing her eyes. Karen smiled at her. Sweetheart, don't worry, she said cruelly. You won't need that scary machine after today. Lily clutched my leg, her voice trembling. Daddy, what does she mean? I snapped. Karen, leave. Right. Now. Karen stepped back, then pointed that stupid clipboard at me like it was a gun. You're done here, she hissed. I own this neighborhood, and I will not let you ruin it. She stormed away without looking back. I held Lily in my arms. She was shaking. Her surgery was tomorrow morning. She needed calm. She needed stability. But Karen had made sure she felt fear instead, and that was unacceptable. I carried Lily inside and told her everything would be okay. But inside, I knew Karen was planning something worse. Something big. Because people like her never go out quietly. They go out violently. And the next 24 hours were going to prove it. You'd think that after a doctor called the police. After detectives reviewed video evidence. After we caught her breaking into my garage at 3 a.m. Karen would disappear, hide, or at least act scared. But no, she doubled down. Because people like her don't retreat when confronted with truth. They attack harder. And she was about to launch her biggest attack yet, on the morning of Lily's surgery. I woke up at 5 a.m. Lily was sleeping peacefully for the first time in days, the soft beep of her chest sensor blinking steadily. Today was the day. Today was the operation. Today, everything mattered. I made her favorite breakfast, pancakes shaped like hearts, and packed her stuffed rabbit, her blanket, and the hospital paperwork. The hospital had given us a strict arrival window. 7 a.m. sharp. Not 7:05. Not 7:10. 7 o'clock. Any later, and they would have to delay the surgery. I wasn't going to risk that. I carried bags to the car quietly, so I wouldn't wake Lily. The sun was barely rising. The neighborhood was silent. For a moment, everything felt calm. Until I turned the corner of my driveway, and my stomach dropped. A car was parked directly across my driveway entrance, completely blocking it. Deliberately. A gold SUV. Karen's gold SUV. And she wasn't inside it. She was standing beside it, arms crossed, face smug, as if she had been waiting for me. What the hell are you doing? I snapped. She tilted her head calmly. You can't leave, she said. Not until the HOA approves your request. What request? To transport hazardous equipment off the premises, she replied. Your daughter's machine is plugged into the car, isn't it? That counts as exterior modification. I stared at her. No. Move your car. Now. She smiled. You'll have to file a petition. 2 to 4 weeks of processing time. I couldn't breathe. My hands shook with fury. Move. The car. She shrugged. I'm not moving anything. You're not taking that medical monstrosity anywhere. It violates community standards. At that moment, the front door opened behind me. Lily walked outside in her oversized pink hoodie, holding her stuffed rabbit. Daddy, are we going? She asked softly. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. I swallowed the fire rising in my throat. We will soon, honey. Karen smirked. No, you won't. I pulled out my phone. I'm calling a tow truck. Karen laughed. You can't tow an HOA president's vehicle from her own neighborhood. I'm calling the police. Her smile vanished instantly. For the first time ever, she looked nervous. What? She said. You heard me. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. You're going to regret that. No, I growled. You will. I dialed 911. Emergency dispatch. What's your situation? My HOA president is blocking my driveway on the morning of my daughter's surgery. She is preventing us from reaching the hospital. We have medical orders to arrive by 7 a.m. She refuses to move her vehicle. Karen's eyes widened. Get off the phone, she hissed. I ignored her. This wasn't a fight anymore. This was survival. The dispatcher replied quickly. Officers are being dispatched immediately. Are you safe? Yes, I said. But please hurry. Karen's face flushed red. You had no right to call the police. None, she screamed. Lily rushed to me, clutching my leg in fear. And the moment Karen saw Lily, her eyes narrowed. You're being dramatic, she spat. She doesn't need surgery. Kids exaggerate. It's probably just a cold. That was it. The dam inside me broke. I stepped toward her, shaking with fury. She has a heart defect. A real one. This surgery will save her life. And you think this is the moment to play your stupid HOA games? Karen recoiled slightly, but still refused to budge. I knew then. She wasn't going to move that car voluntarily. She wasn't going to let us leave. She was willing to risk Lily's life over HOA rules. But she didn't know one thing. She wasn't the only one who could call the police. Because at that exact moment, my phone buzzed. It was the hospital, Dr. Hargrove, and he didn't sound calm. Where are you? He demanded. I explained everything quickly. Silence. Then, stay exactly where you are, he said, voice cold and lethal. I'm calling the police myself. Right now. Even Karen's face paled a little at that. When a surgeon calls the police. That's serious. And she knew it. But she hadn't seen anything yet. The first patrol car arrived at 6:37 a.m. Then another. 2 officers stepped out. Karen immediately stormed toward them, jabbing her finger in the air. Officers. Thank goodness. Arrest him. He's breaking community ordinances, and, ma'am, one officer said firmly, we received a call that you're blocking this family from reaching a hospital for a scheduled surgery. Karen laughed loudly. Oh my God, you people are naive. It's not a real surgery. It's probably cosmetic or experimental. It's a cardiovascular procedure for a 6-year-old, the officer interrupted. We confirmed it with the hospital. Karen blinked. What? The second officer stepped forward, expression stone cold. Move your vehicle. Now. No, she said. Both officers stared. No. The first officer repeated. Karen planted her feet. This is my neighborhood. They have to submit an HOA travel clearance to remove medical equipment from the premises. Both officers went silent. Then we exchanged a look. The first officer spoke slowly. Ma'am, there is no such thing as an HOA travel clearance. Karen stomped her foot. Yes, there is. I created it last night. You created it? The officer repeated. Karen lifted her clipboard triumphantly. I am the HOA. I make the rules. The second officer exhaled loudly. Okay, that's enough. You need to move the vehicle. Right now. I will not, she screamed. And then, in a flash, she shoved the second officer. Shoved him. Everyone froze. Even Karen seemed shocked at what she had just done. The officer didn't hesitate. He grabbed her wrists. You're under arrest. What? Karen shrieked. No. No. I didn't do anything. The first officer helped restrain her. Karen thrashed wildly, screaming. This is my neighborhood. I am the president. I am in control. You can't do this. You can't. But they cuffed her anyway. Right there. On her own street. In front of every neighbor who peeked through their blinds. It should have ended there. But it didn't. Because when the officers searched her car, they found something I never expected. A copy of my house key. Exactly like the one she used to break into my garage. I felt sick. The officer held the key up between gloved fingers. Sir, does this belong to you? Yes, I said. Karen screamed from the police car. I had to have access. He was breaking rules. The officer didn't budge. She's being charged with criminal trespassing, obstruction, harassment, and interfering with medical care. And tampering, I added. He nodded grimly. Yes, and tampering with medical equipment. Karen's face twisted in rage and panic. Her entire world was crumbling, and she knew it. But justice wasn't done yet, because the part that destroyed her life forever hadn't even happened. With Karen arrested, the officers moved her SUV. I carried Lily into the car, her arms wrapped around my neck tightly. "Daddy, are we going to make it?" she whispered. "Yes, baby, we're going to make it." And for the first time in weeks, I believed those words. A police escort followed us all the way, lights on, clearing traffic. We reached the hospital at 6:58 a.m., 2 minutes before the cutoff. Dr. Hargrove met us at the entrance. He didn't speak. He nodded once, eyes full of determination, and whisked Lily inside with the surgical team. I watched her disappear behind the operating room doors. My knees buckled, my vision blurred, but I held it together, because Lily needed me strong. And because Karen's voice, her cruelty, her screams, her lies, were still echoing in my skull. But soon, very soon, those screams would be echoing from a courtroom instead, because the police weren't done with her. Not even close. And she had no idea what was coming next. Lily disappeared behind the operating room doors, her tiny hand slipping out of mine as the nurses guided her away. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I couldn't feel anything except the crushing weight of fear and hope crashing together in my chest. This surgery wasn't just another medical procedure. It was the line between the life Lily could have and the life she might lose. And the thought that one woman, one petty, power-obsessed, delusional HOA tyrant, nearly stole our chance. It made something dark and furious rise inside me, something that wasn't going to rest until justice was done. I paced the waiting room like a trapped animal. Every tick of the clock felt like a hammer hitting my skull. At 7:30 a.m., a detective walked in, Detective Ramos, the same one who had reviewed the garage footage earlier. He spotted me instantly. "Sir," he said, approaching calmly. "Can we talk? Is Lily okay?" I blurted out. He shook his head quickly. "We don't have any updates on the surgery yet. I'm here about Karen." Even hearing her name made my jaw tighten. "What now?" I asked. He exhaled slowly. "During transport, she wouldn't stop yelling. She kept referencing your medical equipment, neighborhood rules, and some unhinged claims about her authority." "That sounds like her," I muttered. Then Ramos lowered his voice. "We searched her car. We searched her house. We found more." My heartbeat stopped. "Found what?" He pulled out a small evidence bag. Inside was a laminated sheet labeled HOA Emergency Authorization Protocol, version 1.0, created the night before surgery. A list of rules she invented herself. HOA may override medical activity. HOA may access any home suspected of violations. HOA retains authority to halt the use of suspicious medical devices. HOA may confiscate items deemed aesthetic hazards. I couldn't blink. Couldn't process it. This wasn't just HOA behavior. This was delusional authority. She genuinely believed she had jurisdiction over your home, Ramos said. "Enough to break in. Is it enough for charges?" I asked. He gave a sharp nod. "Multiple. And more might be added." I swallowed hard. What happens next?" He placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "We're building a case. And the hospital's involvement makes this a priority." Then he added, "The surgeon plans to file an official statement once surgery is complete." Of course he was. Because to a doctor, tampering with medical equipment wasn't just illegal. It was evil. 2 hours later, while Lily was still in surgery, my phone buzzed. It was Mr. Miller, the elderly neighbor. "Turn on the live HOA stream," he said. "It's happening right now." I pulled it up instantly. And what did I saw? It was delicious. The HOA boardroom was packed with residents, furious residents, shouting at each other. Karen wasn't there, obviously. She was busy being fingerprinted and screaming in a holding cell. But her empty chair at the head of the table was symbolic. The board looked terrified. One woman was practically shaking as she slammed a stack of papers down. "These are the violations Karen issued this week," she shouted. 14. Against one family. Over medical equipment. Another neighbor yelled. "She told us it was illegal." She lied. A third person added. "She said she had the authority to enter homes." She told us she was neighborhood security. The board president, Karen's friend, tried to calm the crowd. "Everyone, please. Let's wait for Karen to explain." "She's in jail," the crowd roared. "For what?" someone demanded. A board member spoke quietly into the microphone. "Criminal trespassing. Harassment." Interference with a medical procedure. The room exploded. People are screaming. People demanding resignations. People calling Karen a tyrant, a menace, a danger to the community. One man yelled, "She unplugged a little girl's medical machine. That's attempted manslaughter in my book." Another woman added, "She broke into their garage. I saw her creeping the night before. She scared my children." And then, the moment that sealed Karen's fate, the board president slowly removed his name tag and said, "The HOA hereby suspends Karen Wilmington indefinitely pending full investigation." The room erupted into applause. But the chaos wasn't over, because the HOA still had to face something much bigger, their own liability. Because Karen didn't operate alone. She operated under an HOA umbrella, and now that umbrella was set on fire. At 10:12 a.m., after what felt like an eternity, a nurse walked into the waiting room. "Family of Lily." I shot to my feet. Yes, I'm here. "The surgeon wants to speak with you." My mouth went dry. I followed her down a long hallway that felt like it stretched for miles. Dr. Hargrove stepped out of the surgical wing. His hair was flattened under his cap. His mask hung around his neck. He looked exhausted, but his eyes were full of calm pride. "Your daughter is stable," he said softly. I collapsed into the nearest chair, head in my hands, sobbing from pure relief. "The surgery went beautifully," he continued. "Better than expected." I nodded rapidly, tears streaming. "Thank you," I choked out. "Thank you so much." He held up a hand. "But listen carefully. You deserve to know something." I looked up. His expression hardened. "Her readings, monitoring logs, and pre-op data were interfered with." "I know," I whispered. "Karen." "No," he said firmly. "More than you think." He showed me a printout. Sections of Lily's pre-op data were corrupted. Missing. Tampered. "She didn't just unplug the device," he said. "She tried to alter readings. She attempted to cover her tracks." My stomach twisted. But he wasn't finished. "This isn't misdemeanor behavior. This is deliberate sabotage of a medical process." He placed a hand on my shoulder again. "Let me be clear. I will testify, and I will not stop until she is held accountable." A doctor saying those words? That was powerful. That was justice sharpening its blade. At 11:30 a.m., back in the waiting area, two detectives approached. Detective Ramos and a second officer carrying a folder. "We've completed our search," Ramos said. "And what we found is alarming." My pulse spiked. The second detective opened the folder. Inside were printed emails. Hundreds of them. From Karen. To other HOA members, city officials, local businesses, even the hospital. In them, she outlined her hatred of medical clutter, calling it visual pollution and a threat to uniformity. She'd written, "I will not allow sick people to ruin this neighborhood." My breath hitched. She had also emailed the HOA board weekly with subject lines like, "We must stop the medical infestation. I have solutions to remove the medical house from our street. Something needs to be done about that heart machine." Detective Ramos spoke slowly. "This wasn't random harassment. She targeted you because of your daughter's condition. Then, she had been planning to intervene for weeks." My body went numb. She had plotted this. She had fantasized about taking control. And finally, she had acted. The second detective added, "We also found printouts of your garage layout. Photos zoomed in on the monitoring unit. Notes about the cables." She was studying it. "Why?" I whispered. "For one reason," Ramos said. "To interfere. To force you to remove it." This wasn't a delusion anymore. This was an obsession. This was dangerous. This was criminal. And she wasn't going to get away with it. Detective Ramos closed the folder gently, as if the weight of Karen's madness might spill out if he wasn't careful. I just sat there, frozen, silent, processing the truth I'd been too exhausted, too overwhelmed, to fully understand before. Karen hadn't snapped. She hadn't acted out of sudden impulse. She had built this obsession piece by piece, plan by plan, email by email, violation by violation. She saw my daughter's medical equipment the same way she saw badly trimmed hedges or holiday lights left up too long. Just another thing to destroy to make the neighborhood match the image in her mind. And she was willing to break the law, to break into a home, to almost break a little girl's chance at survival, to do it. I felt something inside me harden. She wasn't going to wiggle out of this. Not with excuses. Not with fake crying. Not with HOA rules. Justice was finally coming for her. And it was coming fast. Around noon, A nurse approached with a gentle smile. "She's awake," she whispered. "She's asking for you." My heart leaped. I rushed into the recovery room. There she was, my tiny warrior, hooked to machines, lips dry, eyes fluttering open. "Daddy," she whispered, smiling sleepily. "Am I fixed now?" I laughed through tears. "Yes, baby. You're fixed. You did amazing." She reached out weakly, and I held her hand like it was the most precious thing in the world. But then she frowned. "Daddy, is that lady gone now?" My smile faded. "What lady?" I asked gently, though I already knew. "The mean neighborhood lady," she whispered. "The one who said my machine was dangerous. The one who said I didn't need it." Her voice cracked. She scared me. My chest tightened so hard I thought my ribs would snap. A 6-year-old girl, fresh out of heart surgery, worried about the neighborhood bully. I squeezed her hand. "She's gone," I said firmly. "She will never come near you again. Promise." "Promise," I whispered. And I meant it, even if I had to drag the legal system to her doorstep myself. 2 hours later, Dr. Hargrove entered the room. Lily was asleep again. He motioned for me to step into the hallway. His face was calm, but his eyes were on fire. "I just submitted my written testimony," he said. "What did you say?" I asked. He held out a copy. It wasn't a short note. It wasn't a simple statement. It was a 10-page professional report outlining everything. The importance of Lily's monitoring equipment, the risks of disconnection, how tampering could have delayed or ruined the surgery, the psychological harm caused to a pediatric patient, the documented sabotage caught on camera. And at the very bottom, his handwritten conclusion. "In my professional opinion, based on evidence and observable behavior, this was a deliberate act of interference that endangered the life of my patient. Further medical action would have been compromised if this sabotage had continued. I fully support criminal charges to the highest degree." I stared at it, stunned. "Hargrove, this is necessary," he said bluntly. "No one touches a child's medical equipment. Not in my hospital. Not on my watch." His jaw tightened. "And certainly not because of HOA policy." For a moment, I wanted to hug him. But he wasn't finished. "I also contacted the state medical board," he said. "This kind of case sets precedent. It will be discussed, documented, and used so no one repeats it." Karen didn't just pick a fight with a parent. She picked a fight with the entire medical system. And she was going to lose. Badly. That night, while Lily slept peacefully, I checked my phone. The neighborhood group chat, usually filled with recipe swaps and boring lawn discussions, was exploding. Dozens of neighbors were posting things like, "I always knew she was going too far. She fined me for having a garden hose visible. She screamed at my kid for chalk drawings. She threatened to tow my car for parking 1 inch over the line. She took pictures through my windows." Story after story. Complaint after complaint. Fear after fear. Some people admitted they hadn't spoken up because Karen bullied anyone who challenged her. Others said she'd threatened them with legal action. But the messages took a sharp turn when news leaked about her arrest. A neighbor posted, "She unplugged a child's medical device? She deserves everything coming to her." Another wrote, "She always hated medical equipment. Said sick people make neighborhoods look bad." Someone else added, "We should all testify." This wasn't one family. She terrorized everyone. Within minutes, over 40 people responded saying they wanted to support. The entire neighborhood, once scared to speak, now turned against her like a tidal wave. Karen spent years building fear. But now the fear was gone, replaced with anger, unity, power, and she wasn't there to stop it. A week later, Lily was recovering beautifully. She could walk a little, smile a little, eat small meals. But the emotional scars? Those would take longer. Still, she insisted on coming with me to the courthouse. "I want to see the lady go away," she whispered. So we went. The courtroom was small. Karen sat in a navy blazer that clearly belonged to someone else. Her hair is messy. Her eyes were wild. She looked nothing like the polished HOA tyrant who used to wield her clipboard like a weapon. When she saw me carrying Lily, her face twisted, angered, yet scared. The bailiff announced, "State versus Karen Wilmington." Testimonies began. Detective Ramos, hospital security, neighbors, HOA board members. Then Dr. Hargrove took the stand. Karen tensed. He sat tall, steady, authoritative. The prosecutor asked, "Doctor, in your professional opinion, could the tampering have endangered the child's life?" He didn't blink. "Yes, absolutely." Karen flinched. And did the defendant knowingly interfere with medical equipment essential for preoperative stability? Yes, he said. The footage shows deliberate action, not an accident. And your medical conclusion? Dr. Hargrove looked straight at Karen. She endangered my patient. She risked delaying surgery that was time-sensitive. Her interference could have cost a 6-year-old girl her life. The courtroom went silent. The judge stared at Karen as if seeing her for the first time. Karen shook her head slowly. No, she whispered. No, that's not. I didn't. I was protecting the neighborhood. But nobody believed her. Not anymore. Her power was gone. Her authority was stripped. Her delusions exposed. And then, the judge delivered the words that sealed her fate. Ms. Wilmington, the judge said, voice stern, your behavior was not just reckless. It was malicious. Karen whimpered. You trespassed. You tampered with medical equipment. You obstructed emergency medical care. Your actions created significant danger for a minor child. She covered her face with trembling hands. Therefore, the judge continued, you will be charged with multiple counts, including criminal trespassing, harassment, endangerment, and interference with medical treatment. Karen sobbed. And pending trial, you are prohibited from approaching the family, their home, the hospital, or any medical facility within 50 miles. Finally, it was over. Karen collapsed into her seat, shaking uncontrollably. All the power she worshipped, all the control she hoarded, was gone, destroyed, by her own choices, her own cruelty, her own obsession. And justice? Justice finally won. The courtroom emptied slowly after the judge announced the charges. People whispered. Some stared at Karen with a mixture of shock and disgust. Others avoided looking at her at all, as if she were radioactive. But I didn't look at her. I looked at Lily. She was sitting beside me, her little hand wrapped around my wrist, her head resting on my arm. She didn't understand the legal details. She didn't know what charges or felony meant. But she understood one thing. The scary lady couldn't hurt her anymore. And that was all that mattered. As we stepped outside the courthouse, a warm breeze moved through the air. Lily held my hand more tightly. Daddy, she whispered. Yes, baby. Is she gone forever? I knelt beside her. She can never come near you again, I said softly. Not ever. A tiny smile appeared on her face. Good, she whispered. Now I can breathe. I hugged her, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt at peace. Not total peace. Not permanent peace. But the kind that comes right after surviving a storm. The kind where the sky is still gray, but you can finally see sunlight poking through. The next week, I returned home to something I never expected. A crowd of neighbors stood outside my house. Over 50 people, holding signs that said, we support Lily. No more bullying. HOAs should protect, not harm. The Millers approached first. We have news, Mr. Miller said proudly. What? The HOA resigned, Mrs. Miller added. All of them. They stepped down last night. I blinked. All of them. Yes, she said. Without Karen controlling them, they realized how bad things had become, how much harm she caused. Then she smiled. We voted to dissolve the HOA entirely. What? I said, stunned. Completely. Mrs. Miller nodded. Karen was the heart of all this madness. Without her, none of us wanted the HOA anymore. Another neighbor stepped forward. We're starting a community-focused council instead. No fines. No surveillance. No power trips. Just real neighbors supporting each other. I felt something warm move through my chest. For the first time in years, this neighborhood finally felt like home. Lily peeked out from behind me. The neighbors waved at her gently. Hey there, sweetheart, one of them said. We're all here for you. Lily smiled shyly. Thank you. And just like that, the place that once felt like a battlefield became a community. Her color returned, her energy increased, her appetite came back. She giggled again. She slept peacefully. One evening, she sat beside me on the couch coloring unicorns. Daddy, she said suddenly, can we walk outside? I hesitated. You want to go for a walk? She nodded. I'm not scared anymore. Something inside me broke, but in a good way. We walked through the neighborhood hand in hand. And neighbors waved. Some stopped to talk. Others brought flowers. The Millers handed her a small gift bag with stickers and crayons. No one looked away. No one acted awkward. No one pretended they didn't know what happened. For once, everyone was gentle. As we headed home, Lily squeezed my hand. The world feels nicer now, she said. And she was right. A couple of days later, Detective Ramos returned to give me the final update. Good news, he said. Full trial date is set. The charges are sticking. I nodded. And Karen? I asked. He sighed. She's complicated. What do you mean? He opened a small folder. We dug into her past. Turns out this wasn't her first time doing something like this. My eyes widened. What? She used to live in another HOA community. She was president there too. Records show multiple complaints filed against her. For what? I asked. Harassment. Trespassing. Excessive rule enforcement. Interfering with a neighbor's wheelchair ramp. My stomach turned. Was she charged? No, he said. Most people moved away instead of fighting her. Of course they did. Some bullies don't stop because no one stops them. He continued. She was removed from that HOA. Quietly. No police involvement. Then he closed the folder. It explains a lot. She didn't learn her lesson. She just found a new neighborhood. A new place to control. A new victim. I nodded slowly. Everything made sense. She wasn't just a bully. She was a repeat offender. A person who thrived on power and fell apart when anyone challenged it. But this time, she picked the wrong family, the wrong community, the wrong doctor, the wrong child, and it finally caught up to her. 3 months later, the courtroom was filled again. Neighbors packed every seat. Lily held my hand firmly. Karen entered in a plain beige suit. Her hair is unstyled. Her eyes were empty. Her confidence is gone. The judge reviewed the charges one last time, then delivered the sentence. 18 months in jail, mandatory psychiatric evaluation, 5 years probation, permanent restraining order, community service, banned from holding HOA positions for life. Karen didn't argue. She didn't scream. She didn't threaten. She just whispered. I was only trying to protect the neighborhood. But even she didn't believe it anymore. As she was taken away, Lily whispered, Daddy, is she going to be okay? I looked down at her. She will get the help she needs, I said softly. And we will be safe. Life didn't return to normal. It became better. The new neighborhood council helped families instead of punishing them. Kids drew chalk art freely on sidewalks. Neighbors shared tools, food, and help. People talked instead of complaining. The fear disappeared. One evening, during a community barbecue, Lily ran around laughing with the other kids. No machine strapped to her, no monitors attached, just a healthy little girl enjoying life. Mrs. Miller approached me carrying a plate of cookies. You fought hard, she said warmly. And because you did, this neighborhood grew a heart again. I smiled. Lily helped too. Yes, she said gently. She reminded us what really matters. Family, health, kindness, community, not rules, not fines, not power. A few weeks later, Lily and I walked on the hill behind our house. The sunset painted the sky in orange and pink. She looked up at me. Daddy. Yes, sweetheart. Why did that lady hate my machine so much? I thought for a moment, then knelt beside her. Sometimes, I said softly, people think rules are more important than people. They forget to be kind. They forget that hearts matter more than houses. She nodded, thinking deeply. Then she said, but we didn't forget, right? I shook my head. No, baby. We didn't forget. And we never will. She smiled. Good. Because hearts are the most important thing. I hugged her tightly. And for the first time in months, everything felt right again. Because in the end, Karen didn't win. Her rules didn't win. Her cruelty didn't win. Lily did. Justice did. Humanity did. Love did. And that's the story of how one HOA bully tried to stop my child's operation. And how her own obsession destroyed her future forever. Life eventually went back to something new. Not the old normal. Something better. The house felt lighter. The neighborhood felt safer. And Lily grew stronger every day. Her checkups were perfect. Her doctors smiled more. Her laughter was louder. Her steps were surer. One evening, months after surgery, she ran across the yard chasing bubbles. Real, effortless giggles flying out of her chest like music. I stood in the doorway, watching her spin in circles as the sunset lit her hair gold. For a moment, I closed my eyes and just listened. No beeping machines. No alarms. No HOA threats. No Karen. Just peace. Finally, when she ran back to me, breathless and glowing, she asked, Daddy, are we safe forever now? And for once, I didn't hesitate. Yes, I said, picking her up. We're safe. And we're free. I meant it. Because the truth is this. You can rebuild a home. You can repair broken equipment. You can even heal a fragile heart. But once a community finds its voice, once people stand together instead of alone, once kindness replaces fear, no bully can ever take that away again. Karen tried to destroy us. She tried to control us. She tried to play God with a child's life. But in the end, her cruelty exposed her. Her obsession buried her. And justice claimed her. Meanwhile, the people she tried to silence? We became stronger, braver, united. And Lily, the little girl she tried to terrify, grew into the brightest, happiest version of herself. So this isn't just a story about an HOA bully. It's a story about resilience, about community, about a parent's love, about how far someone will go to save their child, and how far justice will go to protect what truly matters. Because at the end of the day, hearts matter more than rules. People matter more than power. And no bully, HOA or otherwise, can win against a parent fighting for their child.